My name is Jack. I'm 49 now, and for the last 20 years, my life has been built around one single, sharp truth. Trust breaks faster than bone. We used to call ourselves the Circle. 5 men. Not gangsters, not heroes. Just working-class ghosts chasing a shortcut through the world. There was Marcus, the talker, the kind of man who could sell you your own jacket back and make you thank him for the opportunity. Trey, the driver, quiet, careful, but greedy for adrenaline. Big Mike, who could move furniture, cars, or people if you needed him to. Rico, the connector, he knew everyone worth knowing between Scranton and Philadelphia. And me, Jack, the planner, the one who made sure things didn't fall apart. Until they did. It started in Pennsylvania, early 2000s. The kind of place where steel mills had died, jobs dried up, and men like us learned to improvise survival. We weren't looking for trouble. Trouble was just better at marketing. We met at a pool hall called the Corner Spot, a squat brick building that had been old before we were born. The walls were yellowed from cigarettes, the felt on the tables worn to memory. If you needed someone in that town, you didn't call, you went there. We'd gather every Thursday. Same table, same stool by the jukebox, same drinks we couldn't afford but always ordered anyway. Marcus loved to say, "Consistency is the disguise of trust." I didn't understand then how deep that cut would go. The plan was simple, at least on paper. Not a heist, nothing cinematic, just a quiet pull, a redistribution of what the system forgot to guard. I spent weeks on details, timelines, routes, backup plans, the kind of math that keeps people breathing. We all knew our roles, or so I thought. The night before, we met like always. Marcus leaned on his cue, spinning chalk dust into the air, watching me over the rim of his glass. "Jack," he said, "you ever think about getting out? Like out? I smiled. "You mean retire?" "On what?" He shrugged. "On trust." The table laughed. I didn't. There's something about the way a man says trust when he's already decided to sell it. You hear it only after. Next night. It's raining. Not cinematic rain, just the thin, stubborn kind that sticks to your skin. Trey's driving. We're calm. Everything by the book. Then, lights. 2 cruisers where there shouldn't be any. Trey's hands tighten on the wheel. "They shouldn't know," he says. Marcus is in the back seat, silent. Too silent. Then he exhales, slow, like he's been holding it for weeks. He says, "I'm sorry." That was it. 2 words. And then he stepped out, hands up, into the flashing red and blue. Didn't even look back. I remember thinking, it's raining inside the car now. That's how betrayal feels. Not fire, not rage. Just cold. We didn't all get the same deal. Marcus walked. The rest of us didn't. Prison is nothing like in the movies. It's slow. It's fluorescent. It smells like bleach and boredom. You count time by how many times you stop caring. Trey did 2 years. Big Mike did 3. Rico, 1.5. Me? Almost 4. Because I was the one who wrote the plan. Every night, I replayed that drive. The rain, the silence, the apology. I learned something in there. Pain sharpens memory but dulls everything else. By the time I got out, I wasn't angry. I was organized. Don't skip this part. This is where it turns. When I got out, the world had moved on without us. Marcus had a business now. Not illegal, not honest, just American. A consulting company built on stories and charm. He was giving speeches about resilience. He had a website. He had an audience. He turned our mistake into his redemption arc. And people loved it. That was when I knew what my revenge had to look like. Not violence, exposure. I got a job fixing HVACs. Quiet work. The kind that keeps your hands busy while your mind plots. I didn't want to kill Marcus. I wanted him to hear the echo of every lie he'd told. I wanted the silence of the world to finally reach him. So I started watching. At this point, you'd think it gets messy. It doesn't. Messy leaves fingerprints. I learned patience behind bars. Patience is invisible. First, Trey. He'd gone straight, married a nurse, moved to the suburbs. He was on social media, smiling like he'd invented redemption. I sent him a postcard. Plain white, no name, no threat, just 5 words. You were there. You watched. That's all it takes to ruin peace. He started checking windows, changing routes, showing up late to work. His wife started asking questions. Questions eat marriages faster than lies do. Then, Big Mike. He'd found religion, big cross tattoo, Sunday service, volunteer work. He thought that meant the past had forgiven him. I wrote to his pastor anonymously. There's a man in your congregation who once turned his back on 4 others for profit. Ask him what faith means to a mirror. The pastor didn't call the cops. He called Mike into his office. After that, Mike stopped showing up for weeks. You can't pray away a mirror. Reco? He owned a small bar now. Always full, always loud. He built his image around loyalty, community, friendship. I dropped off an envelope one night while he was in the back. Inside, a photo of us 5 at the corner spot, the night before everything. And under it, a printed headline, Local Man Walks Free After Cooperation Deal. No names, no explanation, just a ghost of truth. He hung that photo on the wall for years. He took it down the next morning. Now Marcus, he was the golden one, the voice. And in America, voices make money. He had an event coming up. The power of perseverance. Tickets, audience, cameras. I didn't need to stop it. I needed to attend. I bought a single ticket and sat 3 rows back on the aisle. Beige carpet, folding chairs, the kind of room that smells like coffee that's been kept warm too long. Marcus took the stage in a blazer he couldn't afford before we went down. He talked about grit like it was a product. He paced. He smiled at the right moments. People nodded like he was narrating their secret. Don't skip this part. This is where the air changes. He told the story he always tells. Bad choices, turning point, new path. He left out names. He left out the parking lot. He left out the phone call that salted 4 lives so he could call himself redeemed. When Q&A opened, I raised my hand and stood without waiting for the mic. Quick one, I said. Was the turning point before or after the Thursday night in the pool hall? He knew my voice. It hit him like cold water. He blinked. I'm not sure what you're before or after, I said. Calm. No heat. Because the timing matters when you sell it like a miracle. A few heads turned. The moderator started to move toward me like a lifeguard toward a splashing kid. I kept my hands visible and my tone even. I'm not here to stop your show. I'm here for the truth. You walked because 4 others didn't. Tell them that part, and I'll sit down. Marcus stared, then tried the smile. It didn't land. He took a sip of water he didn't need. We all make mistakes, he said finally. What matters is the order, I said. Tell them the order. Silence crept up the walls. People who'd paid to feel inspired found themselves watching a man balance on a word. He didn't confess. He did something more honest. He ended early. We're going to take a short break, he said, closing his laptop. He left the stage through the side door, not the back where admirers wait. He didn't come back. Attendees stood confused, clutching their programs like umbrellas in sunlight. The assistant passed out refund slips with a trembling hand. Nobody yelled. Nobody pushed. They just saw the glue between his words loosen, and once you see that, you can't unsee it. This is how you keep it legal. You don't accuse, you ask, you don't shove. You remove the handrail and let the body tell the truth of its balance. After the event, I walked to the parking lot. Midday sun, asphalt soft, the hum of highway a few blocks off. Marcus was by his car, hands on the roof like the metal could answer a prayer. He saw me and tried to square his shoulders. "You happy?" "No," I said. "Balanced." He laughed once, air only. "You could have just hit me." "I am," I said, "just not where you trained for." He opened his mouth, closed it, looked past me at a line of maples shedding in the heat. "We're done?" he asked, like a kid asking if the punishment had a timer. "You sold a circle and bought a stage," I said. "Stages remember." He looked older all at once. He got in the car, started it, sat without moving. I left him with the sound of his own engine. "Don't go. This is only the middle." I kept my hands off him after that. The point wasn't to follow him around ruining his calendar. It was to build an environment where the truth traveled ahead of him. I spoke to people who booked rooms, people who wrote copy, people whose job it is to not be surprised. I never lied. I never embellished. I sent docket numbers and one-line summaries that fit inside an email preview pane. Meanwhile, I tightened the slow screws on the other three. Not to break them, to bend them toward clarity. Trey started making small human mistakes, forgetting to thaw the chicken, missing a school concert, losing a spare key. His wife asked simple questions with the weight of anvils. What else don't I know? He offered the wrong silence. Silence answers more than words. Big Mike went quiet at church. Then he went loud in the places that mattered, stood between a supervisor and a kid hauling boxes and bad shoes, sent an anonymous tip to safety about a forklift that had chewed too many pallets. The men on his shift started to treat him like he'd finally chosen a side. Forgiveness doesn't require poetry. Sometimes it's a whistle and a clipboard moved to the right hands. Rico's bar began to lose Thursdays. Then darts night. Then karaoke. A new crowd came. Quieter, less loyal to a story they weren't in. He stopped posting photos with captions about Brotherhood. He started posting food specials. That's a kind of penance you can taste. You want the pool hall back in the frame? It comes back. 1 year from the night I stood up at Marcus's event, I mailed 4 envelopes. No return addresses. Inside each, a photocopy of that old snapshot of us 5, cheaper ink, faces faded, and a date and time. The corner spot. Tuesday, 8 p.m. Underneath, say it where it started. I didn't know who would show. Pride kills more reunions than funerals. Still, I went early and sat in the far corner under a crooked beer sign. The place smelled exactly the same. Chlorine from the mop bucket, rubber from old cues, grease that never quite leaves. Trey came first, wearing a jacket with his name stitched in a font that meant honest work. He ordered water, because some men punish themselves the long way. Big Mike arrived next, shoulders hunched like he'd learned to be smaller out of respect. He nodded to the bartender who treated him like any other man. He relaxed. Rico walked in alone, no entourage, no angle. He scanned the room, saw me, didn't look away. That was new. We stood there a beat, a triangle of ghosts. Then the door opened and Marcus walked in, hat low, no blazer, no stage light to flatter him. He looked thinner, like someone had finally taken the air out of the hot air. He stopped short when he saw the 4 of us. For a second, I thought he'd leave. For a second, I wanted him to. "Sit," I said. We didn't talk at first. The room did the talking. Clack of balls, low TV, someone laughing 2 tables over at a joke that wouldn't make it outside. Marcus broke the silence like it hurt. I made the call, he said, eyes on the table, voice working through gravel. I sold you to save me. I told myself I was saving us. I wasn't. I wanted out. Don't applaud. Don't romanticize it. He didn't cry. He didn't fall to his knees. He said the line out loud in the room where the lie had been born. And that matters. But it doesn't buy back years. Trey let out the smallest sound. A laugh without humor. You could have just said you were scared. You could have just not dialed, I said. Big Mike rubbed his face like he was scraping off a layer. What now? Now nothing, Rico said. He looked at Marcus. You don't come to my new spot. You don't come to my table. That's your circle now. Edges only. Marcus nodded. For the first time since any of this started, it looked like agreement instead of strategy. We played one game. Teams, the way we always did. Me and Trey versus Mike and Rico. Marcus watched, hands in pockets. No money on the felt. We didn't need stakes. The stakes had been paid. Halfway through, an old man at the end table asked the bartender who we were. The bartender shrugged. Guys who used to think they were a big deal, he said. That's the sentence I'd been trying to carve. Listen, this is not the finale. You'll know when we're close, I'll tell you. But you need the long, quiet middle to make the end sit in your teeth. After that night, Marcus shrank. Not dramatically. He just fit better inside rooms. His name lost the echo he'd trained into it. He moved to a smaller place across the river. Started doing shift work somewhere that doesn't issue name tags. I'd see him sometimes in the morning. Hood up, coffee in a paper cup. A man on time for the first time in his life. Trey wrote a letter I didn't answer for months. When I did, I kept it short. You are not your worst night. You are what you do next. He wrote back, I told her everything. That's more terrifying than any threat a man can send. Big Mike and I developed a habit. Saturday mornings, walking the outer track at the public field while kids ran drills in the center. He talked about ankles and jobs and the price of cereal. He did not talk about the night that made us older. Sometimes penance is showing up early with a whistle. Rico. He closed June's. Opened a smaller place 2 blocks over. No photos on the wall. Cash lunch, quiet bar at night, a couple of tables that fit 2. You can rebuild loyalties in a place that doesn't make you shout. And me? I finally slept without listening for a knock. I kept my job. I fixed broken air, replaced worn belts, told strangers the truth about their filters. You want to know why that mattered? Because every honest sentence you speak after a long lie feels like drinking water after salt. Marcus tried a comeback once. A flyer went around for a workshop in a town 2 counties over. Same script, smaller font. I drove there, parked, and watched from the foyer as 15 people took seats. He walked to the podium, looked up, and saw me standing in the doorway with my hands in my pockets. He didn't flinch, or fold, or run. He did something better. He stepped away from the mic, told the organizer he wasn't the right man for the job, handed back his fee, and left through the side door. No post explaining it, no spin, just absence where a lie used to be. That might not be enough for you. It surprised me by being enough for me. I didn't follow him that night. Didn't need to. That's how you know when revenge is done. When you stop chasing echoes. A few months passed. The seasons changed the way they always do in Pennsylvania. Too slow, then all at once. Snow became mud. Mud became grass. And the world acted like it had forgiven itself. I kept working. Fixed things. Slept through nights that used to chew at me. Sometimes I'd drive out past the river, through the town where we grew up, the one with one stoplight that always blinked yellow after midnight. It's funny how small everything looks once you stop trying to own it. That's where I saw him again. Marcus. He was sitting outside a diner at one of those metal tables with peeling red paint. Same posture, different man. He had a cup of coffee and a paperback. He looked ordinary. No followers, no phone, no voice rehearsing for a crowd. Just him and the sound of trucks passing. He saw me eventually. Didn't wave, didn't look away either. Just nodded once. That quiet grown man kind of nod that means, yeah, we're still here. I sat across the street in my truck and watched him for a minute. That's all. No confrontation, no speech. Because sometimes the only proof that you've won is that you don't need to say it out loud. Don't scroll. Stay. This is where it ends. Not with noise, but with gravity. I still get calls from Trey once in a while. His kids call me Uncle Jack, even though I'm just the guy their dad used to run with before he learned better. Big Mike's coaching Little League. Rico's bar is still alive, still quiet, still honest. We talk sometimes, not about the old days, about taxes, repairs, weather. That's peace, real peace, boring and earned. Marcus disappeared from the internet completely. No more motivational quotes, no pictures, no half-truths with filters. Maybe he learned that silence is the only clean redemption left in this world. Maybe he just ran out of ways to lie to himself. Either way, I let him keep the ending. Because revenge isn't about who falls. It's about who stops running first. People sometimes ask me why I didn't just move on. Jack, wasn't it enough to start over? They don't get it. Starting over is easy. Finishing something right, that's the hard part. And I finished it. Every lie, every silence, every half-finished sentence that man left hanging in my chest, I closed them, one by one. This is the final part, the part that doesn't belong to Marcus anymore. It belongs to me. Last winter I got a letter. No return address, just my name and handwriting I hadn't seen in decades. Inside was a single photo. The five of us, back in the corner spot, leaning over that green felt table, smiling like we'd beaten the system. On the back, 2 words written in fading ink. We're even. I burned it in the sink, watched the ash twist and scatter into the drain. Then I turned off the light and went to bed. For the first time in 20 years, I slept easy. That's it. No moral, no redemption, no scorecard. Just 5 men who finally stopped pretending they were brothers. And one man, me, who learned that the quietest kind of justice is the kind that never needs to raise its voice. If you've been betrayed, listen close. Don't rush the fire. Let the years do the work. Because time, handled right, is the sharpest blade you'll ever hold. And that's the truth.